So here we are. I've put out 2 rows of 4 cards each. You can use 2 rows of 5 cards each or 2 rows of 6 cards each. You could lay out any kind of simple spread like a Celtic cross, and the principles remain the same. So as you can see, when we're using the aces to determine a season and then narrow it down to a specific day, sometimes an ace does not come up with the first cards that are laid out. So what do? Well, first of all, that gives you a clue it's kind of iffy. The timing may not be really determined yet. That could be because of the universal flow, or it could be the client is unsure within themselves. So you may tell them that. You may say, well, we're not getting an exact date for timing yet, but let's see if we can narrow it down. So you can either put out your cards like this and have the client choose the cards. Remember, reverse cards right now don't really mean anything. So what you'll do is you'll just put out an additional 6 cards on top of the ones that are already out. Okay, there we have our first ace. So it's the Ace of Swords. That indicates the fall season. Okay, I'll just go ahead and look at that. We have another ace. So we've got a couple different windows here. I like to work with windows of opportunity because I feel like timing is kind of an iffy thing due to the reasons I gave you just a few moments ago. And so you know, you've got different windows that may be significant. So here we've got the fall, and here we've got the start of winter. Remember, the fall is September, October, November, and the winter season is December, January, and February. So, okay, we've got both are upright, so that would mean the first 6 weeks of that season, which is roughly 42 days. So that season of the fall would go starting from September 1st, moving into, you know, a 42-day window. And now what you can do to even narrow it down more is either have the client choose another 3 cards or just sometimes some psychics just take them off the top of the deck. You know, it's whatever works best for you. But let's say that the client chose 3 more cards. So we're looking at here, starting September 1st, let's say the client has asked, when am I going to sell my house? And so what you're looking at here is starting at September 1st, you add up the face value of the card. And in this case, when you're doing extra cards and an ace comes up, it just counts as 1. So we've got 3 extra cards, 2 and 8 and 9, so that's 20. So you're looking at, okay, there is a sale or at least an offer on the house that's going to happen around September 20th. Okay, so that's the first window. But let's say the sale of the house falls through. So your next window of opportunity for the sale of the house, the next possibility, we'll put out 3 more cards. Now, face cards to me don't mean anything. I just leave them as neutral. Some people count all face cards as a 10, but in this case, I'm just going to make the face card neutral. So once again, we've got a 9. 9 is 18. We've got an 11 and we've got a 9. Isn't that interesting? It comes up as a 20 again. So because the winter season begins on December 1st, then you would add 20 to that, and the sale of the house, let's say it goes through this time, And you may get an intuitive sense about that. Don't forget, you're using your intuition, your psychic abilities at the same time to get additional insights. So in this case, okay, the first window is going to be about the 20th of September, but perhaps there's something wrong with the sale. You could tell your client that. Say, don't be upset if it falls through because there's another opportunity coming. And then so you've got around the 20th of December now, because the winter season starts December 1st. And the sale may actually go through on December 20th. So that's one way to do it. I'm going to show you some other possibilities here next. Here I've laid out a basic Celtic Cross spread, and when I laid the cards out, I just shuffled them as I normally would and dealt from the top of the deck because this is a demonstration. But it's interesting that, once again, the Ace of Swords did show up. Now it's reversed, so that means that the timing window starts at October 15th. All right? So we're going to pare that down a little bit, try to get a little closer with a, exact date. And the 9 came up, one of the 3 extra cards, the Knight of Cups and the Queen of Pentacles, which of course these cards are neutral. They don't have any value attached. So you're looking at 9 days from the middle of October, which is October 24th, for timing. One thing that I would like to say is that, let's say it's January 2014, you're doing the spread. The same question from the client is, when will my house sell? And goodness gracious, it doesn't look like any activity is going to happen until the fall of 2014, which is quite a long time, and that could really upset someone. So what you can say if something like this occurs is, dependent on what you do and the actions that you take, anything can shift and change. It could be sooner than that, but right now it is looking around the fall time period. So you might say to your client, is there something else that you need to do to the home to make it more appealing, or are you happy with your real estate agent? I mean, this is how you can work with your client to help them work with the situation, the timing that shows up. You're not lying to them by any means, but you're trying to help them take a look at the situation as it stands right now. And there's a possibility that there are things that they can do with the home, once again, to make it more sellable, make it more appealing, and perhaps, they'll come back in 4 months and the timing looks like it's going to be a little bit different because they've taken some action and they've done some things. Okay, again, if no aces show up with the first round of cards, then you can just do another spread on top and see if any aces come up. And in this case, they don't. So here we go again. We're going to keep doing it until an ace actually does show up. And it looks like no aces are showing up. So what I would say in that respect, I could keep doing this, but I could say it doesn't seem to be really decided yet. It just doesn't seem to be concrete. So we can keep adding cards, but you already know that the timing, here we finally get an ace, and we get the Ace of Wands, which is spring, and the Ace of Cups, summer. You know you're going to start getting some activity within that time, and you can tell your client that. But it may be you're going to need to tell them that it just doesn't seem like there's going to be much action. And so why? again, there may be some things that you have to do. Now, we're talking about the selling of a home and things that people can do. But if they're asking about a relationship or when is he going to propose, you can't force people to do anything, obviously. So, you work with your client on a spiritual basis. About the question being asked about another person and what they're going to do. And there may be some things that you can help your client with, help your client to see, what their actions are in the situation and what they can do to either chill out, relax about it, not try to push the envelope. There's a lot of different things that you can do to work with your client. But this is just showing you the eventualities of doing a timing spread, and no aces seem to come up for quite some time. Here you can see I've laid out, just bumped the camera, on 3 rows of 3 cards each. So you can see that you can use any kind of simple spread to do a yes/no, and I highly recommend to students that they come up with their own system. They get some kind of a spread that they do for timing, that they do it consistently, and that becomes embedded in the subconscious mind. And so you don't have to sit there and think about, am I going to put out 3 rows of 7, or am I going to put out 4 rows of 4, either 4 cards across and 3 rows down is fine, but you don't want to put out half the tarot deck, because that can be kind of confusing for everyone. And of course, if an ace doesn't come up in the first round, it's kind of iffy, undecided, so you just keep putting cards out on top until you get an ace that shows up. In this case, there's been a question asked. You can, in your own mind, think of your own question right now. And we come up here with the Ace of Wands, and it's reversed, so that's around the 15th of April. So, because my camera, I'm trying to get it close, we're kind of scrunched in here so that you can see all the cards. You put out 3 additional cards, and of course there are 2 face cards that come up, and so you just put them aside, and you've got the Chariot. That's card number 7, so you're looking at April 15th, and 7 is April 22nd. So it looks like around, you don't want to say right on April 22nd it's going to happen. I mean, that's really pushing you into a corner when they come back and say April 22nd came and went and nothing happened. You would probably like to phrase it at around April 22nd, because you've got April 15th, the starting of the second part of spring, and then 7 with the Chariot. Then what you've got is 7 more days. And let's just say that, you chose your 3 extra cards, and let's just suppose that 3 face cards come up in a row. So you know that they're neutral, they don't mean anything. So you're looking at, you just put them aside and you go, yeah, it looks like it's around April 15th. That's the date that's showing up. All right, there's one more contingency here that I want to cover. Let's say that you're doing a reading in June for a client, and so you've got this ace that came up, and then I'm really quickly trying to find 3 more cards. You're doing the reading in June. The first ace that comes up, and let's just say it's 2014, is the middle of spring. Well, that's already passed. So what you're looking at here is, this is how I interpret it when it happens this way. I say, there was a major event, there was some kind of strong energy that happened in the middle of spring regarding this question, but it looks as though the event that you're asking about is really going to happen around the middle of the fall season, which is April 15th. And then, of course, you put, let's see, 3 more cards down, and you got the 7 again, you know. So you're looking at October 15th and 7, October 22nd there. You've got a closer timing, but that's what to do when you get aces showing up in a spread and the time has already passed. You know, there's that window between the springtime period and the fall time period that's going to culminate in the fall, and that may, you know, help the client understand that, you know, there's a window of opportunity here, and about the energy around the question. You have to work with clients and explain energy to them. Another thing that you can view this first ace as, and let's say that time period is already passed, is there may have been a major event or occurrence around this time that really impacted the outcome of the question and the timing involved. So something may have happened around the middle of the spring, and then it culminates into possibly the event, you know, actually coming about in the middle of the fall. So there you have it with this type of timing. You know, work with it. It may seem confusing at first, but really, all you're doing is learning about the seasons, what's the middle of a season, you know, when an ace comes up reversed. And then once you have that in your mind, down pat, you know, it just becomes very, very quick, and you can actually lay out a spread and get an answer pretty rapidly. So I want to encourage you to figure out, you know, what kind of a spread you're going to be doing for using timing. You know, are you going to do 3 rows of 3 cards across each? Are you going to be doing the Celtic cross? Are you going to be laying out 2 rows of 7? You know, whatever it is that really seems to work for you, adopt it and use it and see how it plays out. See how accurate it is. There may come a time when you're going to want to change your method for determining timing, or even come up with your own method. Remember, the tarot is flexible, but it is about intention. So if you've got a set spread or layout that you like to use and adopt and figure out a way to determine timing, you know, then use it, stick with it. And then, of course, if you choose to change it or alter it a little bit, then do that, but then stick with that for quite some time and see how it plays out for you. So thank you for watching.